Brian Flores has revealed the Minnesota Vikings master plan heading into week 1 against the Chicago Bears, including some very interesting names coming up here in conversation. We are also going to be touching on the injury report that dropped today, the first of the season. We have some very good news coming from that, as well as some news that we wish we didn't see. We're going to bring it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, be sure to hit the sub button if you haven't already, and you're looking for all of your Minnesota Vikings news, you're in the right spot. Hit the sub button. Join me and Griffin here. We have so much news coming from this season. You are not going to want to miss it. It's your one-stop shop for every bit of Minnesota Vikings news you could possibly find. But we're going to jump straight into this here. I want to start with Brian Flores. He spoke out today in a press conference. We saw all the coaches talk today pretty much, I believe except Kevin O'Connell. And we got some very interesting stuff from Brian Flores in this one. And I wanted to break down mainly his stuff and also got on the injury report here near the end of the video. So be sure to stick around for that. But Brian Flores was very vocal today on the plan going forward with not just this upcoming game against the Chicago Bears, the plan, and of course, Ben Johnson now being their head coach, but also going through the season and talking about a few players in specific. But jumping into his first quote here, he had this to say: "First, we start with the players for Chicago. Obviously, starting with the quarterback, Caleb poses a lot of problems with his quarterback mobility, his arm strength, and his ability to make the off-schedule plays, and then Swift in the backfield. And obviously, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. I'm also going to throw in Luther Burden here because he's a very good player, and tight end group with Loveland and Cole Kmet. So they've got a lot of skill players, along with the O-line, and then you combine that with Ben. We all know from Detroit, there's some predicting, some forecasting, but no one has a crystal ball, so we don't know what Ben's got cooked up or what his thought process is. So we see a bit of an interesting quote here from Brian Flores, not very scared to go ahead and reveal that they have some insight on what may happen. And of course, when we take a look at it right now, this is a much different team that Ben Johnson is coaching right now than the Detroit Lions. We have an opportunity to understand him a lot more than some other teams and get used to him as an OC. But now heading into this with a much younger quarterback than Jared Goff, a wide receiver room which is, yet, I'm going to say still very good, not as experienced as the Detroit Lions, and you have an offensive line there which is really good. I hate to say it, it actually pisses me off to say that, but going into this Bears game, we're going to get a very good idea of how Ben Johnson may control this team. But as Brian Flores said, there's no crystal ball, there's no envisioning. We know that we like to see Brian Flores come up here against some of these teams and really show off that he is one step ahead of whoever it is, but of all the OCs, all the coaches in the NFL, Ben Johnson seems to be the guy that has all the trick plays, apart from the Vikings. We have a few here and there, but Ben Johnson seems to be just throwing anything at the wall and somehow making it stick. So that's really, in my mind, at least where Brian Flores is going with that specific kind of note there of you don't really know what he's going to do. You don't really know what's going to happen, and especially with an offense like this, which has a lot of players, and, DeAndre Swift, not the best running back in the NFL, but still very good. Caleb Williams, we don't really know what's going to happen with him. But a very, very, very solid group of receivers and tight ends there with Cole Kmet and Colson Loveland as well. So this is not going to be an easy game whatsoever. It's going to be a good test for the first one, especially for the defense of Brian Flores and also the players coming into this. Now, there's been some very interesting things that have happened this preseason with the defense, and including one that we're going to touch on here in a moment. But Brian Flores continues to go on and kind of talk about all of this. He says, I think for us, it's really more about the fundamentals and techniques and having good communication. Really, week one's normally about that, and that's really where our focus has been. Let's make sure we're aligned, right? Good hand placement, good footwork, good communication. I think if we do that consistently over 60 minutes, hopefully put ourselves in the best position. Now, Brian Flores, once again, we know he's not going to get ahead of himself. He's still talking about how this needs to go. It's not about anything going crazy. You have to keep it simple regardless of who you're playing, regardless of who's on your team. You have to keep it simple if you want to go out here and win these games. So he's not really hiding any of that, but he did speak on one instance that was very interesting here in the preseason, and we remember this in the most recent game, and this comes from Kevin Seifert here. He says a really interesting nuance. Brian Flores talking about how allowing Josh Metellus to call a series of defensive plays in the preseason gave Metellus a chance to see what coaches see and feel. Now, of course, Josh Metellus coming in here, calling the plays this year on defense is something that, as a coach, you can relay whatever you want to Josh Metellus, but having him call a series of plays gives him that new kind of vantage point on this. And Brian Flores was very adamant when saying this, that, hey, this is going to make a big difference. We're going to see him and see this defense on kind of a different level this year. And let's hope that is the case. And we know that going into this season with the defense that we currently have, we're going to be on another level. And hopefully we do see everything clicking, everything going right, no injuries, the usual that you want to see on not just your defense, but your entire team. But this is going to be a very good test to start off week 1 in Chicago. And going into this year, with a new outlook on a team with J.J. McCarthy on it, you're going to have to step up at instances just because he's such a young quarterback. So Brian Flores was very good on that here today. And one more thing before we do finish it off regarding the defensive side of things and Brian Flores' mindset behind it. The Vikings fan page tweeted this out earlier, coming from Alec Lewis via The Athletic. The Vikings are going to utilize more safeties on defense to help out the lack of cornerback room. The coaches have suggested they believe a safety room can help manage requirements in coverage. So that's just another update where we've been talking about a cornerback for so long on this team, and still Asante Samuel is available. Believe there's some injury going on there, so that may be an option once he gets the the A-OK from doctors and whatnot. So that's something in my mind that kind of sticking around, is if they actually do go out here and make a move once one is available on the free agent market without making a trade. So just keep that in mind, and let me know what you think in the comments below about Brian Flores' kind of mindset heading into week 1 with Ben Johnson going to be on the other side of the field. Now, heading into this week as well, we do have our first injury report of the season, and heading into this, there's some fairly good news. And I want to break this down because, of course, we see a few players here that we've been kind of going back and forth with on the injury updates over the past week. Christian Darrisaw, Xavier Scott, Harrison Smith, and Elijah Williams did not practice today. The good thing is we do have that extra day playing on Monday this week, so hopefully we may get some of these players back here unlimited, at least for the time being, and then hopefully good to go on Monday. But as of right now, Thursday, did not practice for Darrisaw, Xavier Scott, Harrison Smith, and Elijah Williams. Andrew Van Ginkel and Jalen Nailor both full practices, which is very good. But one big thing to take note is Justin Jefferson is not on the injury report whatsoever. So going back to where we were a couple days ago, there was some concern there that, it's a hamstring injury. Things like that linger quite a bit, even if you think you're fully healthy. And the fact that he's not on this as, even a full participant is very good news regarding that instance, and regarding the scenario where we want him to be in this lineup. We want him to be healthy. And for what we've seen and how limited and kind of cautious they've been in the preseason and training camp, he is all good as of this point and A-OK. Now, there was also a bit of concern regarding Andrew Van Ginkel here, but that was all negated here. And coming into this, some from Darren Wolfson here on Score North, there is zero worry about edge rusher Andrew Van Ginkel for Monday night, Just watching him move during Wednesday's practice, that was an open to us. He's good to go. I have zero worry about Andrew Van Ginkel heading into Monday, which is, once again, another very good update for a guy who's been absolutely stellar with his tenure with the Vikings, and someone who is going to be, once again, another leader on this defense, even with a bit of an older defense here this year, but still not old whatsoever, really. But a lot of guys on this team are going to be considered leaders, and Andrew Van Ginkel is none short of that either. So I want to know what you guys think so far about this first injury report, what we may see change over the weekend and tomorrow as well before the game on Monday night. And let me know what you think as well about Brian Flores' quotes. And of course, a lot more stuff coming out before we head into Monday's game. We're going to have it all here on the channel, including a video tomorrow. So be sure to hit the sub button if you're looking for that, as well as the bell so you get updated right when we post. But that's all I got in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. That's all I got, though. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.